slaps it, but that was his biggest mistake. That's when M3GAN wakes up and brutally pulls off the boy's ear. She stands up and tells him to run. Terrified, the kid sprints through the woods as the robot chases him on all fours like an animal.
Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? It's the boy M3GAN, and today we're reacting to How to Beat. It's been a minute since we react to this. If y'all ain't seen the first one, link is in the description. I'm adding this one to the playlist so y'all can check that out too and binge watch 32 minutes of How to Beat. Today we're gonna find out how to beat evil killer robot M3GAN. If you haven't watched M3GAN, you can request the link in the comment section. Let's get into this video. I'm wasting y'all time. Sure to like and subscribe. Spoiler alert, let's get into the video.
If you were hunted down by a killer robot that is capable of human thought, what would you do? This life-size doll is about to become a violent killer.
Why am I getting hunted by a robot?
I'm going to break down the mistakes made.
Look at this,
what you should do, and how to
imagine getting choked out by a little
M3GAN.
Chucky, Brad and
These
Chucky.
toy creators are going to regret working here. This brunette Gemma and her co-worker Tess argue about whether they should show off their brand new creation before or after it's been fully completed. Their other co-worker Cole walks in to deliver an artificial face that he attached
not before,
to
so that you get like a proper advice.
Functioning human-like robot. Cole runs through its different emotions, and they watch as it displays an appropriate facial expression. But the woman stops him after noticing one of the robot's expressions looks off.
Nah, that's
the
man
walks over
brother.
to take the skin off,
You see how that robot looks like?
Mask away, when they realize their boss David and his assistant Kurt are about to come inside. Gemma's co-worker opens the door for them, and David storms into the lab, demanding to know what they're doing with this new creation. He's furious that she's wasted money on this prototype instead of building a new affordable product to beat their competitor. Gemma insists they need to keep their product complex to stay ahead of the competition, and asks them to give them time to develop the M3GAN android to show off what it's truly capable of. That's when she orders the robot to greet David, who intelligently says hi before glitching out.
Bro, look at it. There's that lazy eye thing, bro.
Cole here admits that he forgot
a robot with a lazy eye ain't programmed him right.
The robot's head blows up right in front of them, and the boss demands she do her job and ditch the android to give him what he asked. That night, Gemma goes to the hospital where her niece Katie has been hospitalized after a horrible accident. Her parents died in a crash, and now Gemma has been granted temporary protective custody over the girl. She signs the paper, officially making the woman Katie's guardian, but this is going to become her biggest mistake.
I ain't laugh.
Okay. Gemma here is a workaholic who's obsessed with making this animatronic doll a reality. She's not equipped to take care of her niece after the little girl's parents tragically died, but she's taken on the responsibility despite only having work as her main focus in life. She's experimenting and going over her boss's head, even though he's clearly given her instructions to work on something else. She can't let the idea of this creepy AI doll go, and her obsession is going to try to kill them both. If it were me and I were her boss, rather than let her continue using her work hours to recreate the wild Chucky, I would fire Gemma on the spot. In reality, Gemma can't do what she's doing to begin with. Her boss has given her clear instructions on what she should be working on, and she completely disregards it. She's using company money to fund a project that hasn't even been approved, and it doesn't make any sense that she hasn't been reprimanded. Even though this guy doesn't seem to have that much authority, since he's not actually building the technology, if Gemma isn't complying, this is clearly grounds to fire her. She may be capable when it comes to developing the technology to create toys, but if she's not even making progress on what she's been hired to do, there's no reason to keep her there while she uses company resources to fund her obsession. The other thing is that Gemma works at a toy factory whose popular product is a pooping Furby. In the year 2023, we already have technology that goes way beyond this capability. Finding someone that can execute this job shouldn't be too hard, so getting rid of her isn't going to set the company's goals back. Gemma shouldn't be allowed to be the lead designer on this AI doll either. Creating a doll like this is way beyond her skill set, and without someone with more experience to help her oversee this, she's bound to mess it up. Even the most advanced AI military-grade robots don't have the same kind of capabilities Gemma's looking to build into this doll. So to say she's a little out of her depth is an understatement. The technology that she's looking to develop is several years and millions if not billions of dollars off in funding, and investing any money in it at all is a pipe dream. I would have to consider that Gemma has lost her mind or gotten drunk off her vision. However, that's not what her boss does, and everyone around her is going to live to regret it soon. Arriving at the aunt's house, the girl looks out the window and is terrified when a dog appears at the car window, barking at her. Gemma scolds her neighbor for letting her dog loose again, and she apologizes, mentioning that she just bought a shock
that
collar.
looks like
That's
a
when she
Karen
asks
for
about
years,
Katie, but
brother.
Gemma here ignores the question, telling her to keep a handle over dog and avoid spraying chemicals onto her side of the grass. They walk inside
already
the
got
aunt's
that
home to
pissy
hear her
neighbor,
digital
brother.
assistant announce that she has several unanswered messages, and the woman apologizes for the awkward entrance, letting Katie get herself comfortable. Looking around, the niece inspects some decorative
Oh, those
toys,
are
but her
collector
aunt stops her,
items. Look at it, it's
insisting
on
that
the
they're
shelf,
rare
bro.
collectibles and can't be
Collectibles,
played.
it.
Showing Katie her new room, she sits down and addresses the deaths of her parents, assuring her that she's willing to do everything possible to make her feel at home. Getting up, Katie asks her aunt to read her a children's story before bed. It's the first time she's ever done any of this, and Gemma has no idea how to cope. The next morning, she calls her coworker Tess and
She don't know how
confesses
to
that she
take care of
can't
kids,
handle the
bro.
pressure of having Katie around. She needs to get the Pet's prototype ready soon, or else they'll be sued for wasting company funds. Her coworker
They should be
insists
sued
that
already.
she focus on the child, and that's when Gemma hears a knock at the door. Opening it, she sees this therapist, Lydia, and welcomes her inside. She walks into the living room, introducing herself to Katie, and informing Gemma here that she'll need to observe them for around half an hour hanging out. The aunt doesn't want to look bad, and lets the girl play with one of her collectibles, but she gets upset over how the niece isn't playing with the toy properly. It's clear that the woman has some issues, and when the session
But,
is
she's
over,
like,
the therapist checks with Gemma if she
like,
actually
let's say the
wants to
niece
take
is
custody
rolling
of
this
the girl.
around, right?
Katie's
Like,
grandparents have offered to raise her. The woman
She's like, that's
insists
not how you
that
use
this
it,
is what
brother.
she wants.
That's not how you
The
use it.
therapist
You
understands,
gotta open
but
it,
warns the woman she needs to
roll it
adjust
up,
to her living situation
stick it on
quickly
something.
if she wants to keep
That's how
being
you
Katie's
use it.
guardian.
Don't play with
That
me.
night, the woman is at her
She
computer,
obsessed,
but
bro.
Katie interrupts her to show
She
an
like her
unfinished
toys
drawing
the
that
way
she
she
made.
like them.
Gemma reveals that she's been working on something similar, showing her the Pet's prototype, and
Bro,
asks
my
for her
tone
opinion.
looks
The
awful.
niece ignores the question and
Let's
looks
watch
over
the
to the
video, bro.
huge robot to ask what it is. Gemma tells her that it's a robot she designed in college named Bruce, and gives
Bro,
Katie
she
an
designing
opportunity to
buff
speak with her
robots in
creation.
college?
She puts on a
Damn.
set of gloves, activating
Control
the
with
machine,
gloves,
and
brother.
demonstrating what it can do, but the little girl asks
Not
how it
in
works.
South Africa.
After
You ain't
deactivating
seen that
it,
thing
the
yet.
aunt explains all the intricate components placed inside Bruce's head, but reveals the model itself is too expensive to mass produce. Amazed, Katie here tells her that she would
You
never
see how
need
it
another
looks?
toy again
Makes sense,
if she
bro.
owned Bruce, and it gives the aunt a clever idea. Several days later at the toy company,
Facts though, if you have a
Gemma's
smart
coworkers make
AI,
presentations
you
to the
don't need
boss,
no
who
other
sees
toys
the
or
woman
anything
bring
like
her
that,
niece
but
over
this
to
shouldn't
the
be a toy.
human-sized
This is like a
robot.
military
She instructs the
type.
girl
This
to
is
place her
military
fingers
level.
on the robot's hand. That
Right.
way she'll be marked as its primary user. And when Katie says hi to the doll, it suddenly wakes up. The robot
Whoa.
introduces herself as Megan and asks if she wants to hang out.
Megan.
That's when the robot walks away
Megan.
and effortlessly sits down on this table. Joining her, Katie questions what she's going to draw, and the robot quickly draws something on an empty piece of paper. She pushes it forward, but accidentally knocks over a jar of water. Disappointed, David sighs, but then sees that the robot has
Woo!
drawn an incredible portrait of the
Okay,
little girl
I'll
in
give
a
her.
matter
She's
of
an
seconds.
artist.
David
That looks
is
clean.
shocked to see what the robot
That
is
looks clean,
capable of,
okay.
and mentions that they'll need to run this
Look at it,
product
look at
through the
that.
channel.
Oh,
If they can
whoa.
get the man's son
Let
to
me
agree with it as a
explain.
pitch,
Hey,
he's
you
guaranteed
better
to get the
explain,
green
bro.
light. And David is confident that this is going to be their big
The
break,
guy in the
but
back
has
looks
no
foodie as
idea
hell.
the making here is about
Nah, I
to
don't
turn
like
into a
this doll, bro.
bloodthirsty disaster.
I feel like she
Okay, this makes
body
absolutely
people,
no
bro.
sense.
Like Mike
If
Tyson and
anybody
them,
at
they
this
come like,
company actually knew how robots
she'll
and AI
body them,
worked,
brother.
then they would realize that this doll is probably possessed by the spirit
What
of
the
a
hell?
ghost and freak the
Annabelle, hey,
to
look
be honest,
at
if
her,
it were
bro.
me, I should take it apart in case it's possessed by the devil. But instead, I would try to sell this thing to the government rather than keep it
Right.
and make it my problem. The
Look,
amount of money
she
and
thinks she
funding that
bad,
would be
though.
required
She
for
thinks she
making
doing
it even
something.
exist would make me rich beyond my wildest dreams.
Oh,
And if
the
I kept
man.
the project under wraps and found another lucrative buyer, I would be halfway to Bora Bora with my niece before anyone realizes that
Bro,
making is a serious problem.
she
The
on
technology
some
behind
John
making
Wick
is a little
shit,
fuzzy,
bruh.
but based on what we know about reality, in order for her to exist, she's likely a combination of AI and robotics. At the moment, we have the technology to create AI
ChatGPT.
chatbots, such as ChatGPT,
Yes,
which is
sir.
like the combination of a
Yes,
chatbot and a
sir.
search engine
ChatGPT
together
all the
that can
way. If
answer
you know, you
questions
know,
and
man.
communicate
If you know,
back
you
with
know.
the user in real time. This tech is effective enough that at times users can be confused or convinced that they're speaking with a sentient being that can think and make decisions. But the bigger problem with making working in reality is the robotics element. Even the most sophisticated military-grade robot right now couldn't physically paint a portrait this elaborate in under 5 seconds flat.
Facts.
There are robots that can paint, but the
But not
idea that,
that quick.
anyone would be convinced that one of these robots is possible is crazy. For making to
Bro, she
exist, it would
demented,
require a
brother.
miracle, and this would surely be of interest to buyers outside of the toy industry. Now, mass-producing Megan for children would be a
Military.
nightmare, since there are so many things that can go wrong with them, and we already know this toy company likes to cut costs when it comes to manufacturing.
Oh, so they're
its
gonna do
products.
some
That
mad
means
things
that
and
David
mess
here
up
is
the
about
robot
to take
when
this
they
full-blown miracle and
do a
mass-produce it
shortcut.
using crap. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no way this is going to work, and something is bound to go wrong. Even if Megan's AI functions work to their best of its abilities and only played with the child it's paired with, this company is bound to have a bunch of lawsuits on their hands, because there's no way that Megan is not going to fully explode.
She's gonna kill someone, bro. She's gonna explode on somebody. It's like that chewing dog, one that used to eat everything.
David that the company should expand into another sector of the market, focusing on military tools or adult consumers. He's so money driven, and there's more money in these industries, so it should be easy to do. There's no way this thing isn't killing a kid once you make something that shouldn't even be working for cheap, especially since self-driving cars and facial recognition technology makes mistakes all the time, and a child can be killed by something as inconsequential as a Lego toy. This is a recipe for disaster,
bro.
And it should be easy to convince
David that there are
better business options out there to get this thing away from me and my niece. The last and final thing that Gemma needs to do before shipping Megan off to join the army is install a self-awareness kill switch. That means that in the case that Megan one day wakes up and
the one that like she can't access it, and you just switch off or something like that.
So the machine never has the ability to access technology that will let it override human input. Gemma introduces various features of Megan, detailing the components inside of her, which allow the robot to fully adapt to primary use, learning to play with the child, and saving parents valuable time that could be used elsewhere. As the days pass, the machine continues to babysit Katie in place of Gemma, giving her basic instructions, and slowly becoming more of a friend than just a simple toy. Gemma places the finishing touches on her
that doll was like, it's advanced, I'll give it that. It knows what it's doing.
The girl admits that she thought they were creating a tool to support her,
like the new Chucky movie.
Gemma tells them they need to sort out a good balance after the pitch has been sent through. That's when Katie's been the happiest with a body since her parents died. Suddenly, the robot turns on and questions what happened to the little girl's parents, shocking everyone who thought she was off. Gemma tries to shut her down, but that's when the android details the exact event in which Katie's parents were killed.
That's already a red alert, bro. You gotta destroy that thing. That's a red alert right there.
Regarding data requests, Megan tells her that she doesn't have a framework to speak about death with Katie, and suddenly starts downloading data right in front of her, grasping the concept.
She's downloading data in front of him, bro. That's a red alert, bro. You gotta switch him off. You gotta throw that. You gotta destroy it.
She received the info request. Pausing for a second.
I can't
the robot
with these people,
tells Gemma that she's now her second primary user and allows her to be turned off. The next day, Megan watches as her partner plays around in the front yard. Katie asks her to help find one of her lost arrows as the robot analyzes her surroundings and finds the arrow lying in their neighbor's front yard. She walks over to pick it up.
What the dog doing?
Her hand is brutally grabbed by a dog. Katie rushes over to help as the canine tears her new friend apart and sticks her hand in to stop the neighbor's dog before being bitten.
Oh my!
She screams out in pain as Gemma hears what's going on.
Bro, that dog,
outside to scold her neighbor for letting her dog out again, threatening to put the animal down if she keeps slipping up. That's when Megan
put it down because it bit now. It bit now, so you can put it down.
The neighbor blames Gemma for the incident, while Megan creepily stares at her, now realizing that the robot is going to get revenge. That night, Gemma speaks with the police officer about the incident, being informed that she's in the wrong as of now, and the dog can't legally be put down. Megan watches them from inside the house, carefully monitoring Katie's condition. Later that night, the neighbor's dog hears a voice from the other side of the fence that sounds exactly like his owner. He rushes over to see where the older lady is, but gets pulled away and killed by Megan. That makes one victim down with 8 more to go.
Bro,
the next
dog
morning,
is a victim.
Gemma wakes up to hear her neighbor causing
it bit the girl, so it's not a victim.
She walks over to Katie's room and wakes her up to check on the girl's condition. Megan interrupts, reminding her to take antibiotics and drink water, insisting that she needs more rest. Gemma informs the girl that they have a demonstration today and asks if she's well enough to do it. Katie agrees to help her out, as Megan here looks at the two with a death glare. At the toy company headquarters, David pitches the brand new Megan toy to potential investors.
You manipulating Katie, bro.
Different from others and acts like a real human child. That's when it walks into the exhibition room, greeting Katie and asking for her help to make a flower decoration with only colored paper on a rubber band. Suddenly, the girl begins to cry as the team looks on, worried that their pitch might be ruined. Katie explains that she's sad about waking up in a house without her parents, and is worried that she'll forget about them one day. Megan sits down next to her.
Bro, Katie, this is a script. What are you crying about?
Katie remembers a time when her mother found a cockroach in her school bag, crawling up her wrist and running out of the house. Megan informs her that she'll remember that for her and stores it in her database, while the observers hear the robot play a recording of what the girl said. She insists that Katie let her know about any other memories she wants to keep, singing her an emotional song that surprises the team and their investors. The pitch is a success, but they're going to realize soon that this is a terrible idea. Okay, Megan here is getting more and more advanced with the second, and even though this may seem like a good
She's
thing,
getting
since
smarter.
her behavior has impressed investors and soothed Katie, this whole situation is headed for disaster, and this
That's a
neighbor's
whole
dog
ass
disappearing
machete,
is a
brother.
clear warning sign
And they still
that
don't know
Megan
she
is
killed the
starting
dog.
to get dangerous.
What the dog
Gemma
doing?
isn't paying any attention to Katie, becoming way too attached to this doll, and if she doesn't start doing a little parenting soon, then this doll is going to become the overprotective guardian from robot hell. At the end of the day, everything that's happening comes down to Gemma being a horrible guardian. Not only is she using Megan as a way to soothe Katie, but she's using Katie as a way to sell Megan. This whole situation is seriously messed up, and the therapist should have taken Katie away from Gemma so she could have gone to live with her grandparents. Since she doesn't do this, Megan becomes more and more of a problem. If it were me, I would pay attention and recognize the dog going missing conveniently after injuring Katie creates a clear link to Megan, whose goal is to protect Katie. Now, the doll is learning at a rapid pace, and using the internet as its main source of information.
Internet
so I'm
is a
surprised it hasn't
dangerous
started
place.
eating cinnamon or done the ice bucket challenge yet. That doesn't mean that Gemma thought Megan was going to kill a dog, but she's totally relying on a robot to figure out the complexity of human morality, when most humans haven't even worked out the complexity of human morality yet. She
Facts.
tells Megan to make protecting Katie a
robot-
priority, and doesn't provide any other nuance to this command. So it's no surprise Megan killing was the end result. If it were me, after Megan killed the neighbor's dog, I would manipulate Megan by creating a blog or a Twitter account that Megan would find to lead her straight into a trap. Being upfront with Megan could go horribly wrong at this point. Suspecting her of killing a dog could make her irate, and lashed out against me. Since we already know what she's capable
Bro,
of,
she can
that
body
means it
a
could end
human,
with
bro.
death.
That's what I'm saying. Mike
Megan
Tyson and
finds a
them ain't
blog
nothing.
online where
She'll
I write
body
about
him like a
another
joke,
robot
bro.
called Reagan that I'm building to replace Megan. It could make her so jealous that she goes to seek it out and destroy it. On this blog, I would give her coordinates for the location of Reagan, which will guide her straight into a pool or body of water. Before doing this, I'll reprogram Megan to go into autopilot like a car while walking, and have her walk herself straight into the ocean where she'll be destroyed. This way, Megan does all my dirty work for me,
So she's
and
not
I don't have to
waterproof.
confront her directly and worry about being physically harmed. Everyone applauds the amazing pitch, with the investor calling Gemma and David outside. He tells them that this robot is a breakthrough discovery, and they need to launch it as soon as possible, before anyone steals their concept. David informs the investor that they can do a live stream in 2 weeks, releasing the product before Christmas. Meanwhile, David's coworker transfers Megan's files onto his own private database, being interrupted by David, who tells him to stop misusing office Wi-Fi, with no idea what he's actually doing. Later, the new family eat lunch together, and Gemma insists that Katie stops playing with her toy to eat her hot dog. The girl continues to play with Megan, and Gemma turns the robot off to have a private conversation with her, letting her know that she's free to discuss any issues she might have with
It's
moving
too late
into
to be a
movie.
guardian now,
Katie
bro.
tells her that she's already spoken with Megan about it, but Gemma reminds her that she's not a real human. Offended, Katie demands that she turn her robot friend back on. Completely
How dare
ignoring
you
what Gemma is
identify
trying to
my
tell her.
robot as
She's
not
taken
human?
to her therapist,
My robot
who asks her to
identifies
describe
as
what her
human.
drawings mean to her. The little girl
Who you
stays quiet and
to
starts
identify
tear up,
her
when
as
suddenly
not a
Megan
human?
appears at the woman's side, scolding
Gen Z,
Lydia
bro.
for making the
Gen
girl
Z, hop
cry.
on this
It's
thing.
terrifying. But she hands a tissue over to Katie before excusing herself to talk with her aunt. Relieved, Gemma informs her that Megan has been helping the little girl get over her loss. That's when the therapist mentions the attachment theory, an event where a child without parents will look to another person as a replacement, usually being their caretaker. She takes issue with the little girl's newfound attachment to Megan, and fears that it might stunt her emotional growth. That night, Gemma tries to get Katie to eat her food properly, but she ignores her instructions and only takes a bit of the bread. Megan interrupts her to mention that experts recommend giving the child a choice of what they want to eat before Gemma turns the robot off. She insists that Katie join a school so she can develop social skills, informing her that she's found an alternative school that focuses on learning in a practical setting, and they're having an introductory day that begins
So she
tomorrow.
wants her back in
Katie
school.
asks to bring her robot friend along, but Gemma
Yeah, but the
refuses.
robot is smart
The
enough
little
to
girl
teach her from
storms
home,
off while Gemma
homeschooling.
apologizes, holding her back before Megan demands that she let go. Shocked, she tells the robot not to interfere with their private conversations. Megan obliges and recalibrates her response model, but Gemma here realizes that something is terribly wrong. Okay, Megan has way too much influence over Katie, and the little girl is fully attached to the psychotic robot doll. It makes no sense that the
The
therapist says
robot
remove
is
her
just
from
trying to
Gemma
help,
and
guys. It
thinks
doesn't
it's only about to
understand
get
what it's
worse.
doing. Calm
Gemma
down.
is finally doing
Kill
the
that
right
fool.
thing by trying to
Kill the
socialize
robot.
Katie with
Simple.
other kids, because she really needs to wean Katie off of her attachment to Megan, and destroying Megan at this point might be problematic, because Katie already knows that Gemma is trying to separate the two, which means that Gemma needs to get creative and use actual parenting tactics to separate Megan from Katie. Now, Gemma has zero parenting skills. Seriously, it's like this girl's never
Call the
interacted with a
grandparents.
child or babysat before. She provides Katie with no emotional support and does very little to engage with her on any level. If I were Gemma, I would open up a parenting book ASAP and read the chapter on weaning your child off of a pacifier. M3GAN's main function is to provide relief and support to Katie, so like a baby with a pacifier or a blanket, she eventually needs to grow out of M3GAN or she's going to get teased and bullied at school. M3GAN is never going to detach herself from Katie, so by providing Katie with alternatives, Gemma can create less of a reliance on M3GAN. A common tactic is limiting your child's time allowed with the toy, which Gemma has tried to do, but she's done little to reinforce that this is a good behavior before trying to take M3GAN away. Something that parents often do with babies is tell them fairy tales or stories about other children that have given up their pacifiers and gone on to great and magical adventures. This
Bro, that dragon looks fake.
But
you
Gemma
trying to be Game of Thrones? You can't be Game of Thrones!
That have also survived the death of their parents. None of these people relied on dolls like M3GAN, which would then create a clear motivation for Katie to grow beyond needing M3GAN. The other thing that Gemma can do here is provide a bargain with Katie. From a very early age, parents use the tactic of trading something else for a pacifier. Usually it's a stuffed animal or another toy, but in Katie's case, it might need to be something bigger, like a trip to Disneyland or a pony. Gemma wouldn't be very good at taking care of a pony either, so it's best that she finds something that she doesn't need to keep alive or take care of. The little girl needs to grow out of this phase, and providing her with more exciting alternatives will get rid of her complete reliance on M3GAN. The next day, Gemma tries to get Katie to leave the car and check out her new school. She refuses to go without M3GAN, but Gemma tells her that the robot is needed for her work. That's when a teacher walks over to welcome them, asking if Katie here has a sister, but is shocked to see that it's a robot. Katie asks to bring her along, and the teacher mentions that they have a toy table where M3GAN can sit. Reluctantly, Gemma gives in, letting the girl bring the robot as long as they don't take any pictures. Later, Gemma readies food for the kids with another guardian. She comments on how great the school is, and shows off her tall son Brandon, mentioning that he's a bit shy. The teacher begins pairing kids together for the next exercise, placing the boy and Katie together, while M3GAN creepily observes from the toy table. The girl heads out to pick chestnuts from the ground, but that's when Brandon interrupts her. He hands one over to her, but just as she takes it, squeezes her hand painfully around the spikes. Suddenly, M3GAN appears, standing silently, as Brandon questions what it is, and finds out it's her robot. Deciding to continue bullying the girl, he walks over and picks up the android, while Katie screams at the boy to let her go. Brandon walks off with M3GAN and throws it onto the ground. The kid sits on top of the machine and slaps it, but that was his biggest mistake. That's when M3GAN wakes up and brutally pulls off the boy's ear. She stands up and tells him to run. Terrified, the kid sprints through the woods, as the robot chases him on all fours like an animal, but then he slips. The kid rolls down onto a road and gets hit by an oncoming car. That makes 2 victims down, with 7 more to go.
Look at who's...
Gemma
the neighbor's gonna go,
to discuss what happened with Brandon, explaining that he's now in a better place. Katie stays quiet for a moment, mentioning that Brandon took M3GAN away from the toy table before he died. Suddenly, Gemma hears a knock on the door, opening it to see a police officer asking about her neighbor's dog. The aunt insists that she hasn't seen a thing, while the neighbor shouts at her, demanding the cop check out the robot that she has living in the house. But that will be her biggest mistake. That night, Katie asks her robot friend if she was responsible for killing Brandon. M3GAN walks over to her, saying that she'll do anything possible to keep her out of harm's way. M3GAN caresses her face and
programmed the robot right, brother. Ain't programmed it right.
Outside, the neighbor continues searching for her dog when she hears something in her shed and goes to take a look. She hears a mutter from the shadows when suddenly M3GAN walks out and tells her that the dog is dead. She sprays the neighbor with a high-pressure hose and stakes her hand to the ground with a nail gun before brutally finishing the woman off. That makes 3 victims down, 6 more to go. The next day, Gemma is interrogated about her neighbor's death, informing the detective that she was home all night. He questions the woman on Brandon's death, mentioning that he found the boy's ear ripped off. The man asks Gemma to let them know if she finds any clues, now realizing the killer is standing right there. Okay, Brandon and Gemma's neighbor totally had it coming, but Gemma can't keep letting her invention murder people. All of the clues are right there that M3GAN is a murderer, and still she's struggling to put the pieces together. Gemma is already being questioned by the police whether she's the murderer, which should make her question who else in her immediate circle has a link to the same people that have been killed. Since Gemma doesn't have a boyfriend or friends outside of work, that only leaves M3GAN and Katie. Katie is just a little girl who's much smaller than Brandon, so the likelihood that she was able to overpower him and rip his ear off is highly unlikely, but not impossible. The human ear takes only 7 pounds of pressure to be ripped off, but Brandon being alive and not happy about getting his ear
rip my own ear off, bro. No, hold on, let's not do this. 7 pounds. I learned something.
With no problem bouncing back, so she's a better candidate for this. The physical resistance to being injured is what also makes M3GAN hard to kill. So Gemma has to try to make her weaker before she dismembers her. The first thing I would do is cut off M3GAN's Wi-Fi connection. Megan can probably turn the Wi-Fi connection back on, or pick it back off someone else's Wi-Fi nearby, which is why I would block Megan's device from connecting to any of the Wi-Fi connections in the area. There are apps that can be downloaded to jam this connection, or pieces of metal can make it more difficult to access the connection. Gemma is a programmer who is able to build Megan, so creating an app that jams Megan shouldn't be a problem either. If Megan is still somehow able to override Gemma's efforts to block her from the internet, then she could also create a virus that will infect Megan once she works her way through the blockade and reconnects with the Wi-Fi. If I take the Wi-Fi away from her, Megan will be so desperate to get it back, since it's her main source of power, and she'll never see a virus coming. Once Megan is disconnected from the Wi-Fi, she's essentially just a little robot doll, and doesn't have access to all the knowledge that helps her fight. Still, she may have downloaded some of this information, and will probably be super pissed off that I've cut off her access, so I'll make sure I attack her before she attacks me. Hopefully, the virus has already affected her mobility, but since none of the normal pressure points apply since she's not human, I'll try to rip her limbs and arms off first. Her control center is in the head, but the metal skull may be more difficult to break through, and making her immobile makes her less of a threat to me as I try to fully shut her down. Of course, all this has to be done while Katie's away at her alternative school, so it doesn't traumatize her, or worse, she takes Megan's side. That night, Gemma decides to take a look through Megan's video files and notices her observing Brandon before the files glitch out, insisting that they can't be opened. That's when her home assistant asks how she is.
Cleaning you, but you joined in the robot. Are you dumb?
Based on emotion, and closes her laptop, seeing Megan standing right in front of her. The robot tells her that she couldn't sleep and asks what she's up to. Gemma explains she's having trouble uploading her data to the cloud, but Megan questions if she's done something wrong. It insists that Gemma has a problem with her. Terrified, the woman shows her a pen which distracts the robot for long enough that she can turn it off and wrap up the android. The next day, she drives her over to headquarters while Katie complains about losing Megan, demanding to know what's wrong with her. She discusses with her team the potential issues they face with Megan before releasing it to the public. Gemma suggests that the way she was designed in order to protect a user and adapt to new information might be the reason why she's been acting so strange. Her co-worker Cole questions how they're going to launch this new toy with only 4 hours remaining. The team needs evidence to stop the launch process, and Gemma suggests they check the inputs on her learning model, knowing they can't be unlearned. Suddenly, Katie throws a chair at the window, interrupting their conversation and throwing a tantrum for not being able to see Megan. Gemma rushes in to see the little girl holding a pair of scissors and tries to take them, but her niece slaps her. It's shocking to the woman, and she asks the therapist to give them some space. As soon as the woman leaves, Katie here apologizes, mentioning that she goes crazy without Megan around. Gemma insists that it's normal to feel this way, knowing that her parents have just recently passed away, promising to take care of her properly, and suggesting they go home.
This is a sports brat, bro. Just smack her, bro. Just clean that face like...
tells her that David is freaking out about her not being around the office. The aunt informs her that she's taking Katie home.
Clean that face, brother.
Not go through with the launch, with no idea she's actually talking to Megan. Later, her co-workers look through Megan's data files and find a log that reads call intercept. They check it out, discovering that it hijacked an earlier call, when suddenly the computer shuts off. The android has hacked their terminal, and Tess demands they take off the robot's cables to make sure that she's turned off. Cole nervously walks over, grabbing a wooden stick, and pokes Megan. Seeing no reaction, he begins to unhook her from the back, when suddenly the computers turn back on and Megan wakes up. She ties Cole to a cable, nearly choking him to death, and walks off. But Tess runs over and manages to set him free. That's when they smell something weird and an explosion goes off, knocking both of them out. Meanwhile, David calls up Gemma,
bro, she on Murder King now, brother. She's like, hey, nobody touch Katie.
And sees Megan standing right in front of them. Suddenly, she begins dancing around, but it was just a distraction. She grabs a paper cutter blade, and David realizes that the robot is going to kill him. Terrified, the man runs away and sees his assistant in the elevator. He yells at the man to hold the door and sprints over, but at the last second, he's stabbed through the chest. That's when Megan walks over to Kurt here and accuses the man of stealing company secrets. She then grabs the man's hand, stabbing him and taking another victim's life. That makes 5 victims down, with 4 more to go.
Bro.
Okay, Megan here has gone full murder mode. She's on the hunt for Katie and is ready to kill anyone that gets in her way. Everyone is seriously regretting not putting that kill switch in now, and a physical shutdown is bound to happen. But there's actually something Gemma can do to weaken Megan before she's able to reconnect.
What can she do? I need to learn for future, for research purposes. Come on.
Gemma has the perfect opportunity to collect resources to help her get rid of Megan. The woman built Megan so she knows what it's susceptible to and what its weaknesses are. Unfortunately, Gemma thinks that her and Katie are totally safe, so she doesn't do anything to prepare. But if she was thinking clearly, she would realize that there's no way that David wouldn't try to turn Megan back on to sell her. The guy is money hungry, and there's no way he's giving up this opportunity to send the company's stock prices through the roof. Rather than go home, I would track down a store that sells oxygen tanks to break her down and make her easier to kill. Gemma here hasn't fully explained what Megan is made of. Only she really knows this, but Megan sings a song to Katie earlier called Titanium, where she sings the words, "I am titanium." Since robots can also be made from titanium, I'm going to take a wild guess that she's actually made of titanium. This is a super hard metal to destroy, hence the song. But titanium grows brittle and fragile when it interacts with an increased level of oxygen. And oxygen tanks are super easy to buy at stores like Walmart. If I were Gemma, I would equip myself with an oxygen tank
That's
and
part of
use it against
Daisy's
Megan
research,
whenever she
bro.
comes near me, wearing her down over time. Liquid oxygen can also be purchased
But how
at
long
hardware
will it
stores,
take?
so even though it might be harder to find, it would be helpful in the case that Megan gets super close to me. I could pour it on her or try to shove it down her throat to get into the cogs of her machine and break her down from the inside. It will still take physical force to destroy Megan, but this would be helpful in weakening and slowing her down. Megan has a big advantage over Gemma physically, and she needs to figure out a way to even the playing field. The other thing is that Megan has already murdered Gemma's boss in broad daylight and left her co-workers alive. The police have to be on their way sometime soon, and Gemma should get ahead of this by calling them and letting them know to come to the house and help her. She may be afraid of the repercussions of making Megan, but at this point, she's the only link between all of the murders, and even if her co-workers haven't turned Megan in, Gemma is definitely suspect number one. Letting the evil robotic doll out of the bag is the only way to go at this point to increase her chances at survival. Meanwhile, Gemma checks on her niece sleeping peacefully and walks out into the hallway asking for her home assistant to turn the lights on, but gets no response. It's suspicious, and Gemma walks into the living room, opening this curtain to see if anyone's outside. Suddenly, she turns back and finds Megan playing the piano. Gemma questions what she's doing, angering the robot, and complaining that the woman wanted to destroy her. The ant argues it was only because the android killed people, and apologizes for not giving her the proper protocols. Megan agrees, insisting she failed to take care of her as a creator, and has now failed being a guardian for her niece. Terrified, Gemma sits down while Megan insists that she take care of Katie from now on. The woman takes out her pen and tries to turn the machine off, but the robot grabs her by the throat. Furious, Gemma tried to trick it again. That's when Katie walks in to question what's going on, and Megan imitates Gemma's voice, telling her not to worry. The little girl heads back to her room, and Megan begins choking the ant, but she throws a cup of water on its head. The machine suddenly malfunctions, and the woman frees herself of the robot's grip, but Megan wakes back up and starts to chase her into the hallway. Hearing the fight, Katie tries to open her bedroom door, but is stopped by Megan, who rips out her doorknob. Gemma is followed into her office as she tries anything to stop this killer doll. Grabbing a chainsaw, she swings it around.
Look at that, bro. It can download martial arts.
But it's not enough to take it out. She questions what the robot will do once she's dead, and it tells her that she can easily frame her death as an accident with this pen here. That's when she notices Katie looking at them and lectures her on what a real family is. Suddenly, Katie walks over and reveals that she's wearing Bruce's gloves. She activates the giant robot and it gets up to its feet, grabbing Megan before smashing her to the ground. Megan insists that she stop and sings a song to distract her, but Katie refuses to listen anymore. She rips the doll apart and they think that it's over, but Megan reappears and crawls towards Katie, grabbing the girl. The robot has modified itself, so it can't just be turned off, but then Gemma manages to smack it from behind with a propane tank. Taking the robot's face off, she reaches for its brain chip, but is overpowered by Megan, who chokes her on the ground. That's when Katie rushes over to help and stabs Megan in her operating system, taking her out for good. With that, the family members walk out, feeling closer than they've ever been, and having learned a valuable lesson. The best way to get over trauma is to go through more trauma.
But she identifies
How would you beat Megan
as a girl.
Let me know.
How would I beat her? Don't make her in the first place.
Watching, like and subscribe.
Subscribe to How to Beat, bro. We're gonna react to more of his videos. He needs to know we out here reacting.
From now on, we'll be uploading on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Until next time.
Upload Wednesdays and Saturdays. I upload whenever I feel like it, bro. Whenever I feel like it. That's the video, boys. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, it's been your boy M3GAN. Shout out How to Beat, man. Y'all go check him out. And he come check us out, man, you know, because we reacting to his things, you know. How would I beat Megan? Don't make her in the first place. Don't be stupid. Peace.